Storytime with Frog is the review of one woman's life who has lived the spectacle of FROG, or fully reliant on God. Not a storybook or Cinderella story, but in fact, the full history of ups and downs, joys and trials of life, the human condition, and this one woman's journey guided by her strength and faith in God. It's not all tulips and roses, but a beautiful rosebush has plenty of thorns. Life is designed to be this way, even when led by Him. Join us for Storytime with Frog with Veda McGregor and Rob Dalton.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Rob Dalton. This is Frog, Storytime with Frog, fully reliant on God. My guest of honor, as always, is
Veda McGregor. Ribbit, ribbit.
Ribbit, ribbit. We are here for another episode. Episode 7, I believe, is what the story is in its progress.
7.
And 7. We're
Are
not,
you sure?
We're past the half dozen mark.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Are
y'all still out there?
somewhere and paying attention?
It's good to be back. I'm glad y'all are with us.
It's been a good ride. We appreciate you being a part of our show. We really do. I'm going to
get us on the time.
I'm going to get it on time.
Okay.
I don't want to waste people's
Let's
time.
not.
It's important. So we'll do.
Their moments are precious.
So, okay, we're good. All right, we got 30. We'll end in somewhere around 30.
Somewhere. We never know.
As you know by now, as you've been paying attention, Fully Reliant on God, Storytime with Frog, is about Veda McGregor's life story, living with and immersed in a God-rich environment.
Yes.
And I like to remind people, it has its blessings, but it has its downsides as well, which is why we're telling the whole truth.
The whole truth, yes.
It's not just about, as we say, roses and tulips. You know, it's just not. There's a lot of thorns on a good rose.
Lots of them, yeah.
And we're going to get into that now. As you're coming out of your precious childhood and your learning in your teens, you quickly decide that, oh, look, we have a
hi, doll. It's so nice to see you. All creatures are welcome.
Yes, and this is, you know,
Hi.
It reminds me to not offer an apology to you, the listener or viewer, but instead to let you know this is just us. This isn't professionally produced. It's not in the studio. It's
life, real love.
It's just, we're just hanging out at the house on a couch, just talking. So we have these nice little interruptions from time to time.
Beautiful creatures.
There we go. So, but it's very informal, and we want you to be a part of it. So this isn't highly polished. It's just Veda and I swapping stories and
hanging out in the living room talking about stuff that matters.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. We are. So we left off. You were getting ready to get into your marriage, your first one between 16 and 20. And you had a lot of fun. Did you have any children? Just
no. There were no children in the first marriage.
Okay, good. All right, so we set that up front. So how was your growth and how was your experience in marriage number one? 16 to 20 ages.
Yes.
You're old, and so you were. It's kind of quickened the pace into becoming an adult.
I had no idea, obviously, because at 16, even though you know everything, you don't know jack shit.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as we talked about the honeymoon in the last, just the very onset beginnings of the first marriage.
Yeah.
And we were great friends. We were great friends. We communicated very differently, as everyone does.
But we weren't strangers.
No,
Right,
not at all.
right.
Not at all.
Yeah.
We had some water under our bridge already as friends.
Yeah.
And so learning how to live in the same house and cohabitate, that's a challenge on the best days for the best people. But we were able to find ways to have inexpensive fun. Because I began to work full time due to the need of him not keeping his job. And so I had to quit high school and go and work full time at Kelly Springfield Tire Company. And no harm, no foul, just a shift. He ended up going into the Air Force, which I have tremendous respect for, and was very proud to be his wife as an Air Force wife. And followed him to AIT school in Colorado, and then on out to a SAC base in Vandenberg Air Force Base.
So you moved away from
home. My little
your
nest.
Roots. Yeah,
my little 3 generations
nest.
of unconditional love. Yes, I definitely spread my wings and flew out there. And we had a lot of really interesting life experiences. together. Of course, his service was fortunately non-combat. I was very grateful for that. And but we had a lot of fun. We had a nice little apartment. We lived on base for a little while and then moved off base after that. But one of my greatest memories with this wonderful man was I'm a car girl. I grew up a tomboy. I love cars.
Yeah.
I know I was a race car driver in another life. So I have a need for speed.
Yeah. Speed
Yes, I
queen.
do,
Yeah.
very much so. And grew up, on the quarter-mile track that we had in Duncanville before they developed I-20 and stuff out there. I was always with my guy friends, and we were running those cars, those wonderful hot rod cars, classic cars.
They were great in the
now.
day.
They were. I'll tell you what, when that
70s.
give me the late 60s.
Okay.
I like the late 60s preferentially over the early 70s.
The cars.
Yeah. But that little Chevelle SS, that little '69 Chevelle SS.
Yeah.
Now there's some heat in that bad boy. And one of our dearest friends is a little bit older than us, named Glenn. Glenn was our rock star. He was our lead guy on car stuff. And Glenn is still an amazing car guy today. But we purchased together a '66 Chevy and Chevelle SS, and it had a perfect, pristine engine, tranny, everything about it except for the body.
Okay.
Was flawless.
Interior great, exterior question.
Yes, okay. Exactly. Well, so then we took a little time and looked around and found a perfectly pristine body in a boneyard. So we took those two things together, and the two of us, with some help from a couple of buddies of his also, and we ended up stripping down everything and transferring it over to the body. Now that took us maybe, probably we got it completely wrapped up in about 5 months, 4 to 5 months.
Yeah.
Which was like working every night.
Sure. It has
every single night.
A lot of details.
So much, all the way down to the headliner.
Yeah.
I mean, we put everything in that other car. Now you talk about something to be proud of. Yeah. You
had sweat equity.
Boy, did we ever. And then taking it out, and running it against some of the other little hot cars was very gratifying. Very, very gratifying.
We did that.
We did that. We totally did that. And a lot of couples, they can't even put a desk together, and survive that. So I thought we were rocking along pretty well, being able to do so much, in such great detail together without killing each other.
Yeah.
And having a great time doing it, because we both shared that passion for cars. And I got to see, beautiful Colorado, and I got to see beautiful California. And this was about 150 miles north up the coast from LA.
Okay.
The Air Force Base was. And we lived in Lompoc for a while, which was right next to the base. And it is the flower capital of the nation. And so we had Titan missiles going off on this direction, and then we had the most beautiful flowers down the hill over there in Lompoc. So we were just kind of immersed in all of that craziness over there in California. But we ended up coming back to Texas, and things just fell apart. Just complete differences. I came from a very secure, nurturing place.
Yes.
Unfortunately, his background and his examples were quite different than mine, and so we didn't speak the same language. We didn't use the same tips, tricks, tools, anything like that. It was like, we've got Greek over here, we've got Chinese over here, and it just didn't fit. Didn't fit. So we kind of came to a point. The final straw for me personally, I got accused yet again of doing something outside of the marriage that I had never done. Never have done. And I came home after being stranded because my car broke down, but I was accused of being out doing something else. But I was stranded at work. And fortunately,
you didn't come home on time.
I didn't come home on time.
Had to be
so I had to be out doing something. So he manufactured
a reason instead of finding out the reason.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Even though I called him first and tried to get him to come and help me, because whatever was broken, the U-joint or something underneath the car, it wasn't anything that I could repair and get home. So I had a cousin who drove a wrecker, who fortunately I was able to get a hold of him, and he helped me. We went and got the party, put it on, and then I got home. And then when I rolled up to the apartments and I started going up the steps to the apartment, I heard rustling in the bushes, in the shrubs. And I kept walking up and got on the landing and went to open the door, and I looked down, and it was him, and he had crawled under the car with a flashlight and was looking to see if I was
indeed,
lying.
right, the part was new.
That was the straw that broke my camel's back. So so I walked up there and said, look, this isn't working, and I can't keep going like this. It does not work for me. So I need this to stop. I need this to stop for me. So I need to be done with the marriage. And so I take anything you want. I don't really care, about the stuff part. I just need my clothes. And if I could have this, if I could have the recliner, I think I wanted the recliner. But other than that, I didn't want to part in anger or hatred or anything like that, because I didn't feel that way about him. I still to this day love him. His mother, didn't really get to know his dad, but they're still just incredible people in my life. I'm Facebook friends, and mom, I think, is kind of on and off of hospice periodically, and so I'm still attached. I don't unlove people that I fall in love with. And
well, how was the love during the marriage?
During the marriage, it was kind of on again, off again,
Okay.
because of the differences.
It waved, but it was
did.
there. It was
It
present.
was there, yes.
And then it
yes.
weakened,
and it
but
was
then
a
it came back.
friendship. It
Okay.
really was,
Yeah.
but it wasn't a marriage.
Okay.
It was a friendship, not a marriage.
It was an accelerated friendship.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so.
A lot of mutual respect,
Yes.
but we keep coming back to trust. You mentioned trust.
It's
is
a big
something
deal. Trust is a big deal. Yes.
Yeah, it's something that has to be
And-
earned and maintained.
Yes. And when you don't have the benefit of learning trust at an early age,
Yeah.
I find that in those types of people that I have those relationships with those people, what a struggle that is.
Yeah.
For everybody who did not get that gift in the onset of their life.
Right, because it is it can be a foundational element.
Yes,
it is.
Absolutely. And I don't know, to me, I equate it to chasing something rather than it being just presented to you.
Yeah.
Because like for me, it was just part of my knowing. Yeah, I did not know a life without that.
Right.
Until I got outside the home of origin and found out that, there's a whole different world out there besides that. But yeah, it's still, it still causes you to question when everything around you doesn't trust.
Right. He wasn't exampled that.
Right.
So he was still learning.
Yes.
And it's easy to fall off that horse.
Absolutely.
And even
though,
and
my heart longed for that piece to be healed in him, because that's such a critical piece inside every human being. So I longed for that piece to be healed, but I had no influence. My influence did not modify it at all.
Okay.
So
that's but it ended rather amicably.
Yes.
We had one of the things
with no property, no kids, no big long anything really.
The phrase I use is, you grew together, but you didn't grow up. You did more growing, but you grew up apart.
Correct.
Yeah, you grew up separately.
Yes.
And it's
because my motive, remember, was I'm smarter. I need to be independent.
Right.
Hey.
So give me the chance to get independent.
Yes.
And okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I accomplished my goal, but not as a partner.
Yeah.
Not as a partner.
Yeah. But you learned a lot. You were exposed to the real world outside of your community.
Yes.
You got the base aspect and the military aspect, and but you had some alone time.
Oh yeah.
We had some time by yourself.
A little bit, yeah.
But you also had the dual time together. So
yeah.
Okay. So
and I always like to say, I would not go back.
Oh yeah.
And change a single thing.
Right.
Because I treasure even the hardest moments. Because without the hardest moments, I don't have experiences to connect to other people in their hardest moments.
Yeah.
So if I only had that beginning, that perfect little, unconditional beginning of trust and love and all the things that everybody deserves, well, then I can't connect to other people that have been injured and that did not have that.
Yeah.
So that's a tremendous gift that was given to me as a result. And to this day, that is what I treasure the most. Yes.
It's relatable.
It's what connects me to other people.
Yeah.
Because coming up in a perfect, so to speak, relative to the rest of the world, I suppose, It, it was. I felt a little set up
Yeah.
for a while because it was so different
Yeah.
outside my home. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the thing about our journey. Even though you may get the insight of knowing how it's going to end, it's like going to college. College is going to end
Right.
with a degree.
Right.
You can't just fast forward to there. You have to go through the experience and the journey of it.
Yes.
And even though there were times when you were pretty sure
semester by semester.
and even though you knew your marriage may be ending soon,
Right.
you still had to go through the journey of growing and then letting that go. It's all it's all part of what makes us rich with knowledge.
Yes.
Is the journeys and getting to our outcomes.
Yeah.
Some people are in a hurry to get to the outcome, but then, I know in our medium worlds,
yes,
as a mediums, sometimes we know answers, but we still have to walk the path.
We do.
To get there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it doesn't. But you're right. It makes it relatable to other people.
Yeah.
So after you concluded that first one, how did you move on? What did you do next? Did you move back home? Did you find your own space? How do you transition out of?
I did not move back home. I found a roommate, a
Okay.
female roommate, and for the only time in my in my young adult life where I lived on my own, so to speak, without a mate, a heart mate or a parent or husband or whatever. So it was my first time to live independent of all of those connections.
Yeah.
I went buck ass wild. That's what happened. Straight up, I went buck ass wow. PG-13, remember? Because now I'm 20. I'm not 16 anymore.
Yeah.
And I've lived a little bit of life. And now I know what parts of life I want to learn more about.
Yeah.
And coming up.
Now that you had some exposure,
yes,
you got to see a little bit of the menu of life.
And
it was
it was looking pretty sweet from a single seat. It sure was. Remembering that I do have that addiction.
Yeah.
That sex addiction, don't forget. Because although it was dormant, right, and calmed down at 9 years old, and I stopped reporting on other people, it just it kicked into high gear. That's all I know.
It did. It took off.
It kicked into high gear. I'm living in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, all bills paid.
Really?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Fireplace. We're running the fireplace.
So you had some
got the air
income.
conditioner going all at the same time. It was just phenomenal. And and the apartment was on Northwest Highway.
Yeah.
The apartment was on Northwest Highway. All the bars were down there, Rob.
Yeah.
The best ones were down there.
And you had that with all bills paid. You didn't have that variation
Not
that you
at
have to
all.
learn over time.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had my paycheck and this much is living expenses and all the rest of it was for me. But yeah, and at the time, I will say, the legal drinking age was 18 years of age. And I was 20. So everything was above board and legal.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I was really getting into the dance scene, the bar scene, the club scene.
I like to refer to that as
really
age-appropriate behavior.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean,
because you'd have done the something similar going to college.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
And not growing up around people who drank.
Yeah.
I didn't really. Drinking was not my thing. It's not my thing now. It's never really been my thing. But boy, I could sure dance a long time if I had a couple of cocktails. So I got to where I could handle my liquor pretty well. And because I was there to dance.
You need practice.
I was there to dance.
You just need practice.
Yes. And, and at the time, sex, drugs, and rock and roll was the thing. I mean, we're talking about I'm 20 and I was born in 6. So this is the 80s.
Yeah. Hello.
What up, 80s babies?
Watch any 80s movie. You'll get it.
Oh, boy, will you ever. Warning. But those were the good old days. They really were. That was before, we didn't have HIV/AIDS yet.
Right.
It was just a whole different environment.
It was.
And, 20-year-olds with 30-plus-year-olds was not a stretch at all in the bar.
Yeah.
And so we were just living life on the edge. And, I was jumping everything that stayed still long enough for me to grab a hold of it.
So that sense of freedom coming out of, And the wedding wasn't so much a restriction, but it was
No, not at all.
right. But it was a nice time to go out and let the flowers bloom.
Yes.
Where was God in your world then? Where was He? I mean, you raised around Him. You had a wonderful
Right.
relationship, but fully relying on God here. Where was your belief system? Where were you in all of that?
Well, in that first one, I was seeking because I thought, well, I mean, I went up there and I spoke my vows and made my commitments,
Yeah.
and I held my commitments and I held my vows. And why didn't it work?
Okay.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah. Right.
I followed the rules. What is going on? And why did this happen?
Where's my happy ending?
Hello.
Where's my happy ending?
Because my example was my mom and my dad.
Right.
Well, my relationship with my first husband was nothing like my mom and my dad's.
Yeah.
Because my parents worshiped the ground one another walked on.
Right.
And that's not what
that was their harmony.
That's right. And that's not what my husband and I had with
Yeah.
one another. Most certainly not. So I was all about being independent and us growing together that way.
Yeah.
But bless his heart, he was just kind of hanging on, trying to survive the trauma he had survived.
Sure.
In his childhood.
In his childhood.
Yes.
In the marriage.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
because he did experience grave loss when his household fractured.
Okay.
When his parents departed from one another, it was horrible for him. Absolutely horrible.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming it is for most people.
I was going to say most
their
kids
foundation
have
comes out from underneath
right.
them.
They are collateral damage, and it's nationwide. It's all the time. Some are better than others.
And see, I was the weird kid that didn't have
right
that didn't have a broken home.
Well, for some people, the divorce makes things better.
Well, yeah, they got twice the stuff.
And they get rid of the toxicity.
Then they get rid of yes. Because not everybody is meant to live together forever.
Right.
No matter how much we want it to be that way.
That's some of the channelings I get are about that.
Yes.
We need the system that we have now for relationships is antiquated.
Very much so.
It's time to change. But that's a whole
yes. Well, we said
conversation.
My first marriage was my motive was to be independent. My second marriage was at that time based on my limited exposure for the sex.
Yeah.
I since found out that it was a big old lie. But that was the motive that got me into the second marriage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As shallow as that is, but that's what it was.
Yeah.
That's all it was for me. That's all it was for me.
But I know you still had your faith. You still had your belief systems.
Yes.
So you just carried them with you.
Yes.
Still
prayed over his children.
Yeah.
The second marriage, his children, and all that stuff. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that just because you were out in the free world again, or for the first time, you didn't lose all that. You carried it with you.
Yes.
It looked different.
It did look different. Yeah. Because I was still we were still very much connected. My trust was in a different place.
Yeah.
Because I felt betrayed from the first marriage.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So he was kind of in timeout. Okay. In a sense,
See, that's what I want to get to is you kind of put him aside. And said,
he blew it.
Speaking of trust,
he blew it.
You didn't give me what I thought.
Exactly,
so
because that was supposed to be like
shame on you.
Yes, shame on you because we're not relating the way my parents did, and it's got to be your fault. You're just not doing your intervention like you're supposed to.
Yeah.
He's such the great manipulator of free will. Not even close. Don't wait for that, y'all. You're going to get old and gray if you do. He does not do that. That's for sure.
No, free will's a real thing.
Yeah, so. Totally.
But it's like you sometimes wonder: did you step aside? Did you?
Yes. Hello.
Are
you under the rug? Where in the world did you land? Because I don't see you. But yes, but still connected. Yes, still believing, praying, trusting.
So how do you find, you had a great time out there living and exploring and growing in a different way.
Yes.
Back in Dallas area. And how do you get into where you meet the second wonderful?
Well, I was changing jobs.
Okay.
Yes, what happened, I was changing jobs and working personnel for a large insurance company and making sure everybody got paid and everything. And it was time I got hired away at a different company, a better company, doing more, making more, the things that you want to progress into as a career. And my friends gave me a going away party. And so we had it at a bar restaurant.
Where were you going?
Where was I going from there? I can't remember where I went to work after that, but it was for a bigger company. But yeah, so they took me down to this bar restaurant that was on Harry Hines here in Dallas. where there's a lot of fun places to go. And there was a collection of fellas over here at another table,
Okay.
and they had Dallas Fire Department on them. They weren't firefighters, but they had Dallas Fire Department on them. Well, I went over to play something on the jukebox, and this cowboy walks up to me and says, "You having trouble picking a song?" I said, "No, I got this." Well, he just kept hanging around and hanging around. Well, I did my song, went back to my table. Well, then he's coming over to the table. You know how y'all are.
Yeah.
You know how y'all are. Migrating, just keep migrating over. And he asked me to dance. Well, I loved to dance.
You mentioned that earlier.
Yeah. So, got up and danced a little bit and talked a little bit. And he worked for the fire department. He was in the fleet maintenance division. So he worked on the vehicles. 7 years difference. That's the same age difference between my parents.
Okay.
So ding, that hit.
Right.
Ding. Ooh, similarities.
That box check.
Yes, right?
Yeah.
Fire department. I'm a
Check
firefighter's
mark.
brat.
Yeah.
There's another one.
Box check.
Yeah, so I thought. So that's where I met number 2.
Now, before we get into what's coming,
yes.
In the first marriage, was there any abuse?
Well, back in the day, it was a time when, and I was talking to my current husband about this. Back in the day in the 80s, what we now know as sexual abuse was just considered guys being guys.
Okay.
So in the younger years, I didn't know that I was complying to something that I didn't want to do. I didn't understand that.
Okay.
Here I was, an addict, right? So my brain is all over the place, a sex addict.
Thank you.
Right.
I wanted a little definition
Yes,
there.
thank you. A sex addict. So my brain is all over the place in manipulation and getting what I want when I want it. But then I have my heart down here underneath my brain that is telling me something different.
Okay.
So I have this conflict going on all the time. So I feel like I'm being pulled in a tug of war. And
heart or satisfaction?
Yes.
Those kind of things?
Yes,
okay.
Exactly that. And thank you. That's why I love talking to you, because you understand. You understand. And so those gravitational pulls were very, very difficult inside, because I literally felt like I had the Father on this side and I had Satan himself on this side, and they were both vying for me.
Yeah, the two typical angels on the shoulders that we've seen in cartoons.
Oh, yes. Yeah. If only it was a cartoon. Just a cartoon. Good God, Gert.
If it was just a whisper in your ear.
Yeah, wouldn't that be great? But yeah, so these things are ticking off, are getting ticked up my boxes. I'm ticking those little boxes off, but then there's something inside of me that doesn't have peace.
But you're talking about how you were learning what's now understood as assault.
Yes. Yes.
And you're learning how you moved into that stage.
Yes.
Because you're right. Years ago, 40 years ago.
Yeah. Golly.
Sorry.
Thanks for the reality, guys.
Yeah.
Yes. Golly, that is 40 years.
We have.
How can that be when I'm 12? None of this math ever works for me. Anyway.
A lot of the women have evolved.
Yes.
In standing up. And that comes with generational change.
Absolutely.
And generational hurts.
Yes.
And learning those lessons. And now we are where we are today. But back then, you were going through it.
Yes, yes, because we didn't know that as females, we didn't know that we were supposed to say no. We thought we just have this. We're brought up with this mindset of romance, and what that looks like, and in reality of walking it out in a romantic relationship.
Yeah,
it's very, very different than what you see on television. It was very different than what I saw in my home. I never saw my dad disrespect my mother. I never saw my mother disrespect my dad. So where do you go when that happens?
Yeah,
I felt like I wasn't even equipped to get past the first gate of understanding of what in the world was happening inside of me, because I felt completely ripped apart.
And the age is tough too, because I mean, you're well into the hormonal stages.
Yes. Oh yeah. At 20.
And you're in the 1st
I'm the
marriage.
one making all the first moves. You understand? I'm the one
Yeah.
in control.
Yeah.
My addiction made me in control.
It's
I had to.
back then. Women approach relationships with the heart.
Yes.
Men were after a whole nother part of the body.
And I fell in line with the men's mentality, not the women's.
Not the right.
Yes.
Yeah, because of your history.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that shame that we talked about, that at whatever age that was, 6 years old, you don't even know what shame. I didn't even know what shame was. I just knew that was a yucky feeling that came over me.
No, yeah, you didn't have the experience to identify it.
No, not at all.
But now you're stepping into it.
Yeah. And now I'm cleaning myself off and getting out of the truck, out of the bay where I got my car repaired, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Wherever it is, the bathroom at the bar, didn't matter. But I had to learn what was safe sex and what was unsafe sex. And what I got to in that short amount of time was the only safe sex is the kind where I'm in control.
Mm-hmm.
And so from that point forward, that's how it was going to be. I was going to be in control.
Yeah.
I was choosing the person. Nobody needs to choose me.
And you grew into that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I took full ownership of that, both hands.
Yeah.
Literally. Yeah. Because I wasn't going to be hurt that way again.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to be that. My innocence was not going to be taken that way again.
Yeah. Yeah. Once is enough.
Yeah.
But again, it's a part of that journey.
It is. And it's not like it was
and someone can tell you that, and you go, okay. But
right. Until you lay there and you know.
Yeah. That's when it matters.
Yeah. Because see, I thought that sexual assault, I thought there was like violence and torture and all this stuff.
Assault.
Which, but saying no and not wanting to, and then complying just to get them to shut up or get off of you.
Yeah.
That's sexual assault.
Yeah.
Just the persuasive part. So to me, the verbiage used does not fit.
It did. Right. It did.
At all.
Yeah.
So I've spent the last 35 years trying to help educate people the difference between sexual assault and something else.
Yeah.
Besides that. Because our mindset is one way, and in reality,
right.
It's very different.
Right.
And it's really important that we learn to understand what people are going through. And there's only one way to do that. And that's to sit with them and know.
Discuss it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And
not about, what's the latest trend or what's this or that, but let's talk about your quality of life.
Yeah.
Because that's really what matters. How's your quality of life?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's important, and because you have to protect yourself and honor yourself, but you still want to have fun.
Absolutely, yeah. It's all about balance.
It's not going back into a cell and isolating
no.
yourself. Right. You
putting on the nunny boo boo collar and the little thing, like the flying nun and stuff. No, it's not. It's not like let's garb it all down.
Yeah.
And hide it all.
You have to find that balance.
Yes,
you do, and it's a journey for everyone. And
it is.
And everyone's
and none of us get it right. It's not meant to get right. It's meant to
there are so many different backgrounds.
And experience. Yeah.
All those different backgrounds.
Yes.
Are in a pool, and everyone has to find their match.
Yeah. And it's a hot mess in that mess. It's a hot mess. It is a hot mess in that pool of experience, because everybody's is unique to themselves.
True.
And yours will always be different than mine.
And it's mothers and fathers, when they have those conversations with their kids, males, boys or girls. Mm-hmm. Again, it's you can tell them one thing, or to warn them about something, or to protect them from something. But it's like a teacher telling you about math and then going home and doing the homework. You learn it at a whole other level. So you have to go, whether it's a college experience, yes, or you're 16 to 20, your first marriage, you and then coming out of it, right, you have to go through those things in life. You just do.
Yes.
And there's a myriad movies made about it.
Oh yeah,
and lots of stories. But everyone's journey is different. But there's a lot that are the same. But you have to go through that.
You did,
and you did, and we're going to get into what happens next on the next episode.
Yes.
So,
is it already that time?
It is.
Holy cow!
Yeah,
it goes fast, doesn't it? Does it go fast for y'all? Because I tell you what, I sit here and think, oh my word, have I burnt up the whole 30 minutes? Yes, it does go by fast.
It does, but we want to keep everybody's interest.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
We're going to wrap up episode number 7. Of a fully story time with Frog, fully reliant on God. We're going to get into marriage number 2,
Woo!
and then we'll probably tap into number 3, and then we can
Yeah.
get to where you are today,
Ah,
because that's one of my favorite parts of your
magical
stories.
number 4.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's do that.
Okay,
Well,
sounds
again,
good.
I'm Rob Dalton. This is Story Time with Frog, fully relying on God.
I'm Veda McGregor. Ribbit, ribbit.
Ribbit, ribbit. We'll take a break, but we'll come back on our next episode. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of it. We appreciate you
Yes.
being a part of our show.
Thank you.
Share it on YouTube if you want for this video. We have the audio version as well on many platforms.
Yes.
Be sure and share, let everybody know what you're learning, okay? We're only talking about the lessons in life and how they're all different for each one of us, but they're kind of the same. And we have
Yep.
more in common than you think we do, but we
So
need
much.
time and conversation to talk to one another and find out what those conversations and those similarities are.
Yes.
Because you can't do it over a glass of wine or
Oh, gosh,
a can of beer.
And God help us, we don't want to do it alone.
No, we don't.
No,
we don't.
No.
And
so we're glad you're here.
so we're finding with conversations like this that you can relate to parts, not all of it, but there are parts of her growth and her experience that I think many of you can relate to. So stick around for episode number 8, but we appreciate you being a part of number 7.
Yes.
I'm Rob Dalton.
Veda McGregor.
Ribbit, ribbit.
Ribbit, ribbit.
Thanks, everybody.
See you
See you
next
next time. Okay, bye now.